family. You're listening to the Classroom and the Cell podcast. This is your brother Marc Lamont Hill, and joining me is the legendary
Mumia Abu Jamal, his co-author.
I prefer to say I'm your co-author, man. You're Frankie Beverly. I'm Maze. You know what I'm saying? I'm the Vandellas. You know what I'm saying? You Martha Reed.
Oh,
man, I'm going to hit you with one more. Do you remember, and this is random as hell, but do you remember a Philly group? The name was Brenda and the Tabulations.
Absolute freaking loopy. Yes.
Woo!
Absolutely. Man, Philly has put together some really remarkable musical, groups, sounds, and you were talking about Maze. We joking about Maze. To listen to a playlist of their work is some of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had, man. Just to listen to these cats, because the band is so tight, and Frankie pulls it all together with that tenor of his, man.
What's your favorite Frankie Beverly? We was gonna talk about one thing, but now you got Philly music in my brain, man. What's your favorite Frankie Beverly and Maze song?
Love is the key to life.
Ooh.
Come on, man. And we are one. I mean, when these cats get together, they make magic. They make magic, man. And I still listen to these cats, and they thrill me every time I listen to them, because they're so on time, man. They're so on time with what they put together, and they are the true sound of Philadelphia in my mind, in my heart.
This is a call from
Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Mahanoy.
This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
I think about Frankie Beverly and Maze a lot, and Frankie Beverly, has been one of them cats that stayed on the road for a gajillion years. He's still on the road. He still puts on an amazing show, and I'm with you. We Are One is my jam, but I also go with the classic. I know it's the easy choice, but Before I Let Go is such a beautiful song.
Yes, it is, man.
And it's so beautiful, you forget that it's a breakup song.
It's a breakup song that's really a love song.
Right.
Before I Let Go. Come on now.
Man, you can't go wrong with Before I Let Go, man. And I like that Beyonce remade it because, one, it gave Frankie Beverly some royalties, and I love that the brother, is going to get paid, and he deserves it. And I love that a new generation of young people got, exposed to it, even with the bounce sound. But I don't want anybody to ever think that Frankie Beverly and Maze, Maze featuring Frankie Beverly's version can be surpassed, man. It's something special, man. And earlier I mentioned Brenda and the Tabulations, and see, Mumia is a music nerd, so he understands. He's an OG. But Brenda and the Tabulations, y'all probably don't know them if you're not from Philly, or they had a couple major hits. The real big hit was "Dry Your Eyes," and they had another hit called "Right on the Tip of My Tongue." But they were from Philly. She died tragically. She died very, very, not very young, but I mean she was 46. That's young enough. But there's so many people. I like to debate my Detroit people. People like Michael Eric Dyson and them who like to brag about the Detroit Motown sound. But I gotta tell them, man, you don't have no Motown sound for real if you don't get our girl
This is a call
Tammy
from
Pennsylvania State Correctional
Tammy Terell.
Institution, Mahanoy.
This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
You
Tammy
called
Terell.
it. You called it Miss Thomasina Winifred Montgomery, better known as Tammy Terell.
Wow.
Straight out of Philly. I think she's from Germantown.
I think she's from Germantown. And she, man, I remember listening to her as a kid, man, and just, being bowled over, man. Just bowled over by, who was it? Her and, who was, I can't think of the brother's name now.
From Philly?
No, he ain't from Philly. The brother whose father popped him.
Oh, Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye. Wow.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you give me some Marvin. Woo! kidding me? Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terell. That's some of his greatest duets.
Ever.
See, Mumia, that's why it's important. That's why it's important for us as Philadelphia representatives to be out here teaching this world that there ain't no music. I mean, there ain't no real 70s, 60s, or 80s music sound without Philly. Yeah, Motown had their moment, Detroit, but the Jacksons came over here. They came to Philly International, and and you got Gamble and Huff. You got Teddy Pendergrass. You got man. It's so much Philly music, especially you talk about soul music.
Soul music, brother. I mean, they made it ring, man. And you know, who a lot of people don't know came to Philly International to really establish or deepen his impact in music.
Who?
Bob Marley.
What?
Yes.
Wait, how I didn't know that? Tell me more about that.
Well, I think Bob, you know, he would, even though he was a superstar, he was a superstar because college radio and white radio played. You know, black radio didn't play reggae. They were as allergic to reggae as they would later be to hip hop. You got to remember, a lot of black radio stations refused to play hip hop until they couldn't say no anymore. You know, because they began losing money, and because the ear was being hooked in other cities, and you know, stations turned. But for years, black radio refused to play hip hop, and they didn't play reggae. You had to go to a college station to hear reggae, right?
Oh, wow.
WRTI had a reggae show. Me and Lynn Washington used to. I think we were on WUHY.
Ooh, shout out to Lynn Washington, by the way, one of the great Philly journalists and truth tellers in the world.
Yes, sir. Yeah, he came because he wanted to, you know, really deepen and create a way for black Americans to listen to him, you know, and attend his concerts. Because I went to concerts, man, you can count the blacks sometimes with, you know, two hands and leave some fingers untouched.
Word. And there was some underground hip hop like that now. And again, you know, it takes a while for, you know, yeah, for sure. It's fascinating to see how it plays out, man. I'm so proud of the Philly sound and the Philly music. And I think sometimes, you know, artists have to leave Philly to make it big. Sometimes they hold on to the Philly roots. Like a lot of people don't think of Tammy Terell as a Philly artist. They think of her as a Detroit artist, or people don't think, or the rapper Eve. You know, she makes her big break on the Roots song "You Got Me." You know, but she's not credited when they win the Grammy. But a lot of people don't think of Eve or Left Eye from TLC, who went to Albany High School. They don't think of them as Philadelphia artists. You know, they think of them as global artists. But man, Philadelphia, man, we done made some stars. And when it comes to soul music, when it comes, but not just neo soul in the early aughts, which was amazing with Jill Scott and Bilal and Kendrick the Family Soul and all of them, but you know, old school soul. Jasmine Sullivan, another one. Sometimes they don't tag her with Philly enough, you know, because she got, you know, linked up with Missy and others. But I used to watch that young lady, and she's a grown woman now, when she was 12 years old at the 5 spot downtown in Old City, where she would literally, her parents would drop her to the venue. We were all grown and drinking and partying. She would come in, sing her face off, tear the place down, and then get right back in that car and go back home. She lived in the literal Strawberry Mansion. She would go back home before bedtime on a school night. You know, that's how our culture was, man. And we rewarded her, you know. And so I love that, man. Now let me ask you, because you got a musical voice, and you were part of that Philly musical time. You know, my time, you know, everybody wanted to be a rapper. Did you want to be like a doo-wop singer or something? Tell the truth.
Well, you know what? Because you know what? I remember when cats used to like get on the corner, 52nd Street or Columbia Avenue, get them a few bottles of that, you know, rock gut, and everybody thought they could, woo. And sit here on the corner and sing. You hear me? But your man was too shy, man. But I love listening to it, and it took me a few years to, begin singing myself. But to grow up in Philly is to grow up with your ears full of some of the finest soul music that the soul has ever produced. And, that was WHAT, WDAS, and later it was the college stations. Drexel had a station, Penn had a station, and Temple had a station. And that was the place where jazz really took off. And a lot of people don't know, like Richard Allen Projects, some of the greatest jazz artists on the planet lived there or played there.
See, again, that forces us to reimagine like the spatial and cultural layout of the project. Like when I think of the projects, again, I'm from the hood.
Yeah.
Coming to age in the 90s, 2000s. You know what I mean? When I was growing in the 2000s and the late 90s. So, I think of projects is where people rap. I think of Nas. I think of Jay-Z. I can't imagine a bunch of, gangster looking ass niggas, singing doo-wop or playing like a slide trombone or something. You know what I'm saying? But it's like that's what was hot in the street.
That was happening, man. Richard Allen is sick with that. I'm telling you, man. Tony Montero, the brilliant Tony Montero, has an encyclopedic knowledge of jazz from the heart of North Philly. Where he grew up. But, he talks about Richard Allen, man, in reverential terms. And, who lived right across, was it 31st Street, 32nd Street?
Yeah, right off Diamond.
Coltrane.
Oh, over there. Oh, yeah. Philly done been a stop for Coltrane. Ain't from Philly, but he got some deep Philly roots. Of course, it's the Coltrane house there.
Roots. That's right.
A lot of people don't know that. And I don't know if you know that I'm the world's biggest Luther Vandross fan.
Oh.
When Luther was 16, he left Manhattan and came to Philly.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Luther spent some time. In fact, his mother stayed in Philadelphia.
You have 1 minute left.
His mother lived in Philadelphia until the day she died. She lived down at the Phoenix Apartments in Center City. And I just remember, surprised at how many people either lived in Philly or passed through Philly as an artistic thing. I mean, poetry, they from London, but they made the most beautiful music right here in Philly. So look, Philly didn't just produce Mumia Abu Jamal, y'all, the world's most important intellectual, coming out of North Philly. They produced some of the greatest musicians, some of the greatest artists. And if you ain't from Philly, that's, God didn't bestow his favor upon you. But if you had the privilege of passing through, you still got blessed. So today, man, I thought we was going to talk about racism and Nikki Haley, but I'm glad we didn't. We can always talk about that. That ain't going nowhere. We got to talk about some good shit, man. I love you, man.
I love you, brother. Stay strong and stay beautiful.
You too, man. I'll talk to you soon. On the move.
On the move.
The caller has hung up.
All right, family. You have listened to another episode of the Classroom in the Cell podcast. You can get all the episodes available on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. Just go to Marc Lamont Hill official on YouTube. Check out all of our episodes as well as other important content on a range of issues related to our struggle. Get radical education, critical conversation, and the divergence from mainstream corporate media. Check us out. Also, hit that subscribe button so you can get regular updates when we put out new content. And if you're so inclined, hit the join button to become part of the family, and hit MLHTV on Cash App. That's Cash App, $MLHTV, to make a direct donation to the platform. And if you want it specifically to go to Mumia, just let us know and we'll make it happen. All right, family, I'll see y'all later. Peace.